Hi, I'm going to do a layout using the Unbelievable template, which has these great opportunities to have a single photo in the center, or you can have multiple photos in the center, as you can see. So I think I'm going to do a layout something similar to this, and I've already gone ahead and done some pre-planning. So what you will need, besides the Unbelievable template, which was released for the Creative Memories National Scrapbook Day event, is you will be needing your 12-inch trimmer. You will need fairly basic tools, the Unbelievable template. A ruler will be handy. Definitely need some scissors, rubber and pencil, multi-purpose tool, possibly a black journal pen, and your tape runners, especially the repositionable. That's probably the most important because you may have to move bits and pieces. So let's go through and show you what else you'll be needing. So besides, pop those to one side. Besides that, you will be needing a photo. Now I'm choosing this photo of my daughter with my parrots. A sheet of cardstock, and I've chosen out of the National Scrapbook Day sampler pack, which has green, goldenrod, light blue, navy and white. I've chosen to use a navy cardstock. Then the papers, pattern papers I've chosen the Garden and Friends paper pack, if you were lucky enough to get that. So it's got some gorgeous prints in it. So in that, they're all double-sided, as you can see. So I've used a variation of both, but you've got your green crisscrossy lattice sort of pattern. You have your yellow honeycomb, the light blue sort of very spring dots. This is quite regal, this check. The dark blue stripe. And this one is the one I'll be using for my base. So because I needed 6 pattern papers, I also went ahead and chose this little bird print one. It's on the back of this gorgeous print from our NSD kit, because I had 2 kits. So that's what we'll be using, and let's go ahead and get started. Now you'll need to start with your 12-inch trimmer, and we need to take your sheet of cardstock, and what we're going to do is we're going to create squares with the cardstock for all of these. So you need to cut 16 squares. I've got my sheet of cardstock that I've been cutting from. Now I've already cut 15 of them, so they need to be 2 and 2/16. So if we start there, 2/16, and that's being really precise, so you fill the edge of the square, and that's why I suggested you need the ruler, so you can measure it and work out exactly your sizes. So I will go ahead and cut the last one with the 12-inch trimmer. I'm biased, but definitely the best trimmer on the market. Okay, there's our last one. So I'll pop that to one side. Won't be needing any of that anymore. Now our next step is, I might pop that to one side because I don't think we need that at the moment either. Our next step is to get all of our edges done. Now if you've got a piece of cardstock, a piece of scrap cardboard, you can use that as your base, because what I went and did, I'll start with my blank ones. So what I went and did was I went and placed them behind, so we can put the put all your pieces into it. So once you cut those, it's a matter of placing them all behind. Now, like I say, if you wish, you can put a little bit of repositionable tape on the rear side so they don't move at all, just to keep them in place. I've only got these last 3 to do, and the 4 corners, so that's where they're going to end up going. So I could go ahead and add a little bit of repositionable tape behind each one without moving them. Just a tiny little bit to stop them from moving. Oop. Let's see if I'm going to be able to make this work. Oop. Is that moving? I'm going to stick to the cardboard. Yes, it is. And then we're going to go ahead with all of our pattern pieces of paper, and cut all of our leaf patterns out, because I've cut them out of the whole template because I wanted to highlight those. So that's why I've chosen quite a plain base paper. So my feature on my page will be this leaf border that we're going to end up with. Put it on the back of that. That might be easier. That would have been smarter right from word go. How about that? Great idea. There we go. So once you have those down in place, then it's ready to add your leaf patterns. But to make your leaf patterns, you will need to go ahead. Now, depending on your template, this is all quite directional, so it won't matter quite so much. But if your pattern on your template is directional, you may need to flip the template and flip your paper. And just let me grab a piece to show you. So if I wanted to get the bees in the picture, I would flip it over. And I've already cut all my leaves out, so I'm just giving you a demonstration for the purpose. And then, if you can see the Creative Memories logo at the bottom, that always shows you it's the right way up. So I try to use them so that the Creative Memories logo sits at the bottom. So then if you flip it and work out which way you want to go, we'll use this one. And mark all your leaf pattern. Make sure you have a really nice sharp pencil. And by flipping it, there's no rubbing any lines out, because the last thing anyone wants to do is rub lines out. Okay, so that's ready to go. Then we would cut that out. So make sure you have a really sharp pair of scissors. I love the micro tip scissors for fussy cutting. I'll just get rid of that off the sheet and get rid of it. All right, so then it's just a matter of cutting the pieces out. And I did find if you follow the direction, it will make it easier. Or the other option, which I'll show you. So you can do it just like that if you wish. and you'll get hopefully some of the little bees in the pattern. And I seem to have missed, oh, there's one there. I was going to say I've seemed to have missed them all. Oh, I've definitely missed it on that one too. That's the problem when you don't have a consistent pattern. Sometimes you do miss these things. Oh, there's one. And the last piece. Or the other way you could cut it. I've got one with bugs here and it's got the honeycomb on the other side. So the other way you could cut it, which is the way I actually did it, because I did it as I went, working out my colours, is if you just cut piece by piece away, as so, as such, which is still kind of easy as well. Such a lesson on fussy cutting. So you can see I've already gone and cut around the edge of it first to define it, and then we're cutting out the center pieces. And you end up with this really cool leftover piece. So for the larger ones, I did it just the same as I did in the last one I showed you how to cut. For the larger pieces, the corner pieces on my template. And the smaller ones, I did it just as I'm showing you now. Okay, so you end up with these really cool pieces, which I can show you later what the possibility is you can do with those. So just keep those to one side because you could use those. When you're needing to cut all your pieces, your leaf pieces from your 6 sheets of paper, what you will need to do, so for each one of your 6 different patterns for these leaves, these 3 on the outer edges, you will need to do one on one side and then one on the other side. And hopefully you can see that pencil mark there. So you've got one on one side and one on the other. For the 4 corners, so that'll be 2 from each sheet for the outer edges. For the corners, you only need to do 1 per sheet because you're going to end up with leftovers. So I hope that now makes sense. So let's go ahead and put the rest of this together. Now we have our components all cut out. So you can see I've still got these ones to do. And I've already gone ahead and pre-done the rest of them. So I've gone ahead and made a couple of changes to this. And firstly, I have decided I'm going to stick my squares directly to my paper. But I also, after looking at it, decided that I felt like the white was just too, or the muted pattern was just too stark on its own. So I have trimmed 1/2 inch off 2 sides, so it gives it a 1/4 inch border, and stuck it to a sheet of navy cardstock. The other thing I've done is I've taken out my multi-purpose clips and popped my template down and clipped it right way up, so you can see the Creative Memories logo to the top of it, because then that will make it easy to adhere. So we will try to go ahead and stick those all down. I think that is just going to look so much better. And we can continue to show you how to finish these off. We'll get all these down, and then the last 3 pieces here and the 4 corners, I'll show you how to do those. Bit crooked. Let me work this out and I'll come back to you. So now I've got all my pieces of cardstock stuck down and some of my leaf pieces. Let me go ahead and we will show you how to fill the rest of the last 3 in. So I've already pre-planned this. I might even change a few pieces out with the other pieces I cut earlier. And what we need to do is we need to go ahead and just add some tape runner. And remember earlier I said, you know, you just need to run tape over the whole thing. So this is how I've stuck them down. Just make sure that, whoops, wrong side, that sticks into place. I've got it the right way up. Oop. Let me lift that because I actually think that's upside down. Yes, it was. It had the pencil mark on the wrong side. Here we go. And I think it's easier than trying to stick your adhere your tape runner to your small pieces. I think this is far easier. Let's get that the right way and hope you can see what I'm doing. Now, like I said earlier, I took, 6 sheets of paper, and what I actually did was, I should have mentioned this earlier, when I traced them all out, I cut the 6 sheets, I cut 1 leaf one side, flipped your paper over and did it the other side. So let me reiterate that. So it was absolutely, oops, might need to turn that over, make that fit, that'll work. Yeah, it was just, I might even change that out actually. It was just the pattern on one side, flip it over and do the pattern on the other side. And if you do that with all 6 sheets of paper, you will end up with enough pieces to do the whole sheet. I might flip that out for a, let's see, the smaller one I did earlier. Let's see if we can get a yellow one. Is that the right piece? Tiny bit more colour. Okay, and then you will just rub it off. So I will finish the other bits, stick down the 4 corners, and we'll come back and explain how we did the corners. Okay, I've got all my cardstock pieces in place. So it's just the 4 corners to do, and I've already pre-cut all the papers. Now, you only needed enough pieces for the 4 corners, but what I did was I cut one of the leaf patterns, except those corner pieces, just the actual leaf, out of each colour piece of paper, designer paper. The reason why I did this was because that way I was planning, because there is 6 pieces of leaf, planning on using 1 piece from each pile to get different different colours in the leaves. So let's go ahead and do that. And we'll start with this. Now after I take this template off, I will definitely be needing to clean it with all the repositionable tape. But like I say, we only want one from each piece. So I think we'll do that. Matter of finding the right pieces. And that, because I wanted them all to be different but the same colours. Then we might do a yellow piece. And then we might do one of the other light blue. So it's going to be a matter of finding the right pieces. And you will have enough left over to make two at the end. So you can see that coming together. And one of the the chicken feet light green for one of the corners. Will that one fit there? So I can have it on the other side. And what colour am I missing? I think the dark blue will be the other corner. And that way your main colours are just in your border and everything else is quite muted. So I will come back to you when I have finished that. Okay, now we have all of our pieces all in place for our border. Now it's time to pull it all apart and take our template off. So you need to take your clips off. And it was very handy using just two clips either end and moving them. And you will need to clean the template because it will be covered in repositionable tape. So don't stick it to anything before you do that. And I will do that afterwards. But this is what we're left with. And I really like the way it came out. So our last job now, besides embellishing it, is to stick our photo on. And I've gone ahead and cut the photo and matted it. So the mat will need to be 6 1/4 by 6 1/4, unless you want, if you only want a sort of the same sort of distance as what's between these mats, then you would do 6 1/2 by 6 1/2. Or if you just wanted the photo, I wanted to mat it. And so I've done the photo as a 6 by 6 and the mat as a 6 1/4 by 6 1/4 because I wanted you to be able to see that neutral background a little bit more. And I could have just put the photo straight on the page, but I really like the light blue mat. I think it works quite well. So we'll go ahead and stick that down. Adhere that. Like I said, if you wanted it smaller, you would do 6 1/2 by 6 1/2, and then the photo would be a 6 by 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. Unless you want to double mat it, and then it'd be 6 1/2 for your bottom mat, 6 1/4 for your next mat, and 6 by 6 for your photo. I hope that makes sense. Okay, remember when I mentioned earlier about cutting these out and leaving the leftovers? So there was a reason behind that. So this is what I've decided to make our embellishments out of. And so I think I will get the photo reprinted. I printed it at home, and your prints at home are never the same. But at least I know what size I'll get it printed to now. So remember we had the leftover bits that we cut our pieces off with our leaves, which are these. So what I've decided to go ahead and do, I might have to cut them a little bit, the stems a little bit shorter, is earlier using a cheap template and our dot pens, I created these fantastic leaves with a stencil. And the stencil came from one of the cheap shops. Our local Kmart had them for a $4 pack. Anyway, so I created a video to show you how to make these if you wish to make them, and I will link it in the comments. Anyway, I think I'll go ahead and I think I'll make them a little bit shorter, because I think they're a little bit too long. But they really look like stems now, so you're getting to use the whole thing. Right, we're going to trim it down. Right, get rid of that. I found that. So it's like that. And I've got the other colour green to do at the other side. So I'm going to do 2 lots of them. So we're going to need 5 of the leaves for each one. And when I cut these out, because you can see that this is what I liked about them. They're pretty much the same sort of leaf as what's in the template. So when I cut them out, I made sure I left a piece at the end. So we're going to attach them to our stems as so. So you get that sort of finish. So I hope you can see. So I'll go ahead and attach those. Just a little bit of adhesive to all of those. And how many have we got? Got 5 there. You may have to trim them up again. Pop that one to the top. Lifting it's going to be the hard part. I'll put that out like that. And we can have a look. I haven't seen what they look like yet, so oop, is it going to lift or is it's going to stick? So it might be best to use a precision pen for this, or to put your adhesive to this side instead. That might be easier. And because it's on white cardstock, it's a little bit on the heavy side, so the paper is not wanting to hold it quite so well. But anyway, we will see what it looks like. See if it's worth using. See, I really like that. I think I probably could have left the stems a bit longer. And I can make adjustments now. I can see where they line up at the front. Oop. I'll have to put some more on that. So as you can see, it's a tiny bit fiddly. I think it looks fantastic. I think the precision point pen would work better at this point than the repositionable. But anyway, that's kind of what we're aiming at. And if we have a look, I'll put that down that end. That's kind of the look I'm going for, if you can see. And I think I'm going to end up with the second one in the top corner. So let me go ahead and finish that off for you, and we'll come back to you. So I've gone ahead and finished all my stems off and popped my leaves on them. I've just at this point slid them underneath the squares on the corners there, because I think I'm going to replace this photo. But I'm really happy with the way the whole thing has turned out. This was at a winery in Victoria, so I think this is beautiful. The other thing I looked at doing, and I just wanted to show you, is using some, I don't know whether you can see that, make sure you can see that, some pen work on the outer edges of the leaves. So I just did one that would sit in place to see how that looked. And you could go right round the edges of your leaves if you want to. I don't know whether you can see that. I'm trying to get that so you can see it. I'm still trying to decide. I probably won't, because I think my leaves are probably going to be enough. But I'm pretty happy with the way that's turned out. So thank you and enjoy.